Our next speaker is Commissioner Clements, and we are honored and so pleased to have her with us. We've had a wonderful dialogue in preparation for this soiree today, and we are extremely happy to have her with us today. So, Commissioner Clements, if you could be so kind as to step up and move into the next phase here. And obviously her bio is on the website. It's an astonishingly great bio. So she's a pleasure to know too. So Commissioner Clements, it's your turn.
Thanks, Sheila. It's nice to see you, and it has been a pleasure this week to spend some time together. And I always appreciate the chance to learn from people who have such deep expertise like you. And I'm also glad I got on in time to hear Chairman Shalander's comments. He's a really insightful guy and helpful, I think, at this moment in time to have someone like him leading the effort on behalf of the states. So I'll talk briefly about what FERC does for those of you who don't spend all day thinking about it, and I know many of you don't, and then talk briefly about a couple of priorities that are on my mind, I think, as well as on the minds of my fellow commissioners. FERC has regulatory authority that comes mainly from two statutes, the Federal Power Act and the Natural Gas Act. Under the Federal Power Act, the Commission is responsible for the wholesale sale of electricity. We're supposed to ensure just and reasonable rates and avoid undue discrimination. We also have authority over reliability under the Federal Power Act to work to ensure reliability of the bulk electric system. We also have authority for licensing and relicensing of hydropower facilities. On the gas side, we have authority over rates as well as over the permitting of new interstate gas pipelines and LNG facilities. Lots to do, a broad set of things, but it really, I think Chairman Shalander teed it up nicely in terms of the role that the Commission plays relative to individual states. We exist because electrons, transmission lines, pipelines cross state boundaries and required federal regulation. I think about the two issues that drive the work that the Commission has to focus on right now, and we're about to get a new commissioner, which is really exciting. Climate change, the effects of climate change, and the increasing extreme weather events, the increasing heat, drought, and fires in the West that the chairman was referring to, as well as extreme cold in the South and the middle of the country in the Northeast. You know, we're really seeing it all, and it's climate change is really making its presence known before us in real time. The second big in the electric system is the rapidly changing resource mix. This is a resource mix that originally was developed by, driven by government policies at various levels, but increasingly is really often just a simple case of economics. It's also, this is what the market is telling us. Corporate customers, industrial customers, communities, individuals, they want to buy a different kind of power. What does that mean for the electricity system? Well, FERC is an economic neutral regulator. We don't choose across that resource set. It is our job to ensure that customers are protected as these things happen around us, as the new facts that make up the issues that climate change imposes on the electricity system, as the facts that make up the needs and the characteristics of a changing grid relative to the resource mix. We want to protect customers and ensure reliability along the way. So with those two things in mind, the priorities that are front of mind for me right now and my colleagues at the Commission on the first one for sure is transmission. And we just heard a lot about it. Transmission is hard to build, and high voltage transmission investment is certainly significant in terms of dollars and cents. We need to think about the need for new transmission, not relative to no investment, not spending money versus not spending money. Money is always being spent every year, large amounts of money, billions of dollars around the country to shore up various parts of our infrastructure system. The question is, how do we want to do that going forward? Do we want to shore it up, kind of putting our heads, looking down and saying, this is how we've always done it. This is the way we build new transmission. Or do we want to look forward and say, wow, things are going to look really different in 10 years, in 20 years. And what are the investments that we need to make now that are frankly no regrets investments to ensure that We protect customers down the line. Now, nothing is no regrets in our industry, just like no one is an expert, as Chairman Shalander mentioned. The Commission has put out an advance notice of proposed rulemaking to ask all stakeholders to say, hey, what do you think we should be doing in terms of the inputs we do into planning, in terms of the way we do planning? We use largely a deterministic approach around the country and are evolving into a probabilistic approach of future scenarios. What do those look like? What does this extreme weather mean for various regions of the country? That regional difference is really, really important. There isn't a one size fits all for the electricity system across the country. So step one at the Commission is putting out what we were able to do unanimously across 5 commissioners was ask a bunch of questions. And we are now waiting for comments on those questions to come back in so that we can decide what we think the next near-term steps might be. We have also, as Chairman Shalander mentioned, set up a state-federal task force, which was going to start meeting hopefully in person in November, to start putting some of these knotty, hard issues, these siting questions that he described. The fact that there's several federal agencies involved in addition to FERC, in addition to the state siting authority. How do we get together on some of these questions when we're not fighting about one particular transmission? Well, I'm not fighting about any of them, but when stakeholders are fighting over one particular transmission line. I've shared before that all of these emerging issues related to the impacts of extreme weather and the changing resource mix are really coming to the fore in the West, unfortunately, in large part due to the extreme heat, drought, and wildfires. And there is no time like the present for the West to come together around increased integration that serves to improve reliability, to decrease costs for customers, and to ensure resilience in the face of these natural disasters and extreme weather events. That's a place where I'm spending a lot of time listening to people in the West, trying to understand what a more coordinated, more integrated market looks like for them. How do, the opportunity is that we can take what is now 35 plus balancing areas, 35 plus little sets of boundaries on a map, and integrate them in a way that we can more cost effectively, that utilities can more cost effectively share resources with their neighbors. When there's weather or fire problems in one region, we have help from other regions, and we can do coordinated dispatch that just in general saves customers money. That's something that's top of mind, and FERC has a lot of expertise to bring to the table. Under the Federal Power Act, we have concurrent jurisdiction with the states around a lot of these issues, and so things will not work in this rapidly changing environment if we're not kind of walking together with the states down this path towards increased coordination in the West. I think that will be key. The last area of priority that I wanted to touch in is the reality that the impacts of this extreme weather, the opportunities to access this changing resource mix, which brings both potential cost savings and choice in resource type, they're not fair, right? There's a disparate impact across the country, and we all understand this to be the case. One thing that FERC has taken significant steps to do recently is to establish 2 parts to provide increased access and consideration of the facts on the ground, the reality of how our decisions impact people. First is that Chairman Gulick hired Montina Cole as a senior advisor on environmental justice issues. She is hopefully, she is up and running, and she's already making a difference. The goal will be that her thinking, her ability to help us as a staff and as commissioners understand the types of facts on the record that should be considered in our analysis about whether or not any given regulation is in the public interest. The second thing that we're doing is we've set up an Office of Public Participation. That's something that's been on the legislative books for a long time that for various reasons has never gotten done at the Commission. The first 6 months of this year, we've been able to establish this office after a period of significant opportunity for public input to say, hey, the decisions we make really do affect regular people. FERC continues to be called this obscure agency, this technical agency, the sleepy agency, but in reality, we make decisions that impose costs and also provide benefits and protections, and those things trickle down to real people, and certainly at least to real people's electricity bills. Perhaps more well-known and controversial is the impact that commission decisions have on communities related to new gas pipeline infrastructure or hydro licensing and relicensing decisions. That's another place where this Office of Public Participation should play a role. The idea is that regular people, however they're impacted by the commission decisions, should have an access point, should be able to participate in existing commission proceedings and have their voices, their facts on the record, such that we as commissioners have a more fully formed record to consider when we're making decisions. I think in the end, that leads to more equitable outcomes. It also certainly leads to more legally durable outcomes and more buy-in around the things that the commission feels need to get done in the name of protecting customers and reliability. So I think with that, I'll thank you for the opportunity, Sheila, and of course, it's nice to see you. Oh, you're on mute.
But we've got a upcoming speaker, Mark Lobby, who's extremely pressed. He has a must-stop time. Commissioner, would you mind if I follow up with you, and maybe if we have some questions to get them to you later, even if it's just in an email format?
That sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you with us, and always a pleasure to see you and talk to you.
Take care.
Thank you.